So today I am at Sandown Airport. I'm just going to have a wander over to the golf course over that side where our story ends up. However, it doesn't start there. It starts here, just outside of Brading. This video examines one of the Isle of Wight's most puzzling cases. First formally documented in the January 1978 issue of the Beaufort Journal. The report brings together a series of strange events spanning several years, beginning with unexplained aerial sightings witnessed by a father in the early 1970s. This culminated in a deeply unsettling encounter reported by his young daughter near Sandown. So Mr. Y, as he was identified in the reports, was driving home from Shanklin through to Ryde, and he saw a strange object following him across the River Yar just over here. So according to this report, the object followed him all the way from Brading through to Seaview near Ryde. As he passed through Brading and turned right towards St Helens, he became aware of a large multi-lit object to his right, positioned roughly halfway between the road and Bembridge Downs. He described it as enormous, flying very low over the swampy ground near the River Yar. Mr. Y stopped his car and watched as the object hovered over the marshland. It appeared to move more slowly and without any clear purpose. A wide ring of 7 or more lights were visible, each one a large, clearly defined sphere. Most were bright red, which he compared to cherries, with additional turquoise and white lights mixed in. No sound was heard at any point. He continued driving, and the object flew parallel with him. Once outside St Helens, it cut across behind his car at a distance of about 300 yards and descended slowly. As it moved away, it appeared smaller, and the number of visible red lights reduced to 4, which seemed to rotate slowly. He stopped again and observed the object weaving backwards and forwards without settling. He then continued to his destination. Once at his friend's house, they both went outside, and his friend could also see it, watching as it appeared to move between the treetops in what Mr. Y later described as a game of hide and seek. As Mr. Y continued to move towards Ryde, the lights were eventually lost from view, and he did not see them again that night. So on the 1st of March 1972, Mr. Y was drawn to this coastline here at Compton Bay. Apparently, a high tide and a droning noise drew him to the cliff's edge. When he peered over, he could see 2 orbs of light in the water that looked like eyes looking up at him. The eyes disappeared under the water, and so did the swell of tide with it. At no time did he mention to his children about these 2 incidents, but what happened next is just bizarre. So I'm back now at Sandown Airport, and we're on the hunt for about a 7-foot tall giant clown. So as per the report, Mr. Y had had some very unusual encounters over in Brading and then over towards Compton Bay on the west coast of the Isle of Wight. Things take a little bit of a stranger turn when his children came out for a walk one day. They were out playing on a normal day and encountered a very strange character under a bridge. A peculiar wailing sound initially drew the children to the site, and once at the bridge they spotted the entity crawling out from underneath. A tall figure emerged, fumbling and dropping a book into the water before retrieving it. They introduced themselves as Sam, or more precisely, All Colours Sam, shortly after emerging from under the bridge.
This was done by scribbling the words, "Hello, I am All Colours Sam," in the book that they had.
So this bridge that we're stood on now is the most likely location that the kids reported seeing this character. So the kids described the character they met as a towering figure over 7 feet tall with white paper-like skin. His face was painted like a clown and he wore a vibrant green and red outfit, and his hands and feet only had 3 digits each. And he also had a wooden antennae on his hat. So what you really notice about this location is how quiet it is. I haven't seen anybody on this walk so far. I might see some people up on the golf course, but it's a very remote location. Things got even stranger for the children as they went back to Sam's little house in the woods. Now this was the 70s, so I don't think stranger danger was quite a thing back then. So once they got back to Sam's little house, they asked him what he was, and they asked him if he was a ghost, to which Sam replied, something like that. So as I said, the children went back to this character's hut. It was a metal hut in the woods. They said when they were inside, there were 2 levels, and it seemed much bigger inside than it did on the outside. Could it be this hut? Probably not, but you know, you never know. In fact, it seems to me what they were describing was an old sort of workman's hut that I used to remember seeing when I was a child. So after spending about 15 to 20 minutes with Sam, the kids left and they walked back onto the golf course. And as far as I remember, they bumped into some builders who couldn't see what they could see. So did these children really see a strange clown in the woods? Had they been smoking something?
You want to get high?
Or is it just complete? Answers below. So it's quite a strange story, this one. I've had a look online and I've not seen any other reports of anything similar on the Isle of Wight. There have been UFO sightings, particularly over near Compton. So there have been other things seen over that way, but there's been no clowns. Anyway, I'm on the Isle of Wight for a few more weeks yet. So if there's something you'd like me to go and have a look at, then drop a comment below. And if you haven't already, like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.